Hey, welcome in. Well, let's just get straight to the headline with this one. Levi Strauss provides racial trauma help for employees troubled by Rittenhouse verdict. Why do you want to bet that the only people who show up for this are white? Which would be appropriate because everybody involved with the Rittenhouse case was white. So it would make sense, wouldn't it? And I think what these people may need is reality trauma help. Because anybody who watched any of that trial, who paid any attention to it whatsoever, recognizes that it was justifiable self-defense, that the media narrative was completely false, that Rittenhouse didn't cross state lines with an illegal gun, and he didn't just show up and start shooting protesters. And if you don't know that yet, you can find it out in about 30 seconds by just taking the slightest bit of effort to find out what actually happened. Let's see, after Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, Levi Strauss tapped a racial trauma specialist to counsel employees. Need I remind you, everybody involved was white. They said, quote, with the news that Kyle Rittenhouse was not convicted in the shooting of 3 individuals, 2 of whom lost their lives, during racial justice protests last year, this is a difficult day for many, wrote Levi Strauss Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer Elizabeth Morrison in a letter to staff obtained by the Daily Mail. Well, this isn't quite right. I think we need to fix it. With the news that Kyle Rittenhouse was not wrongly convicted after defending himself against a rioting domestic abuser and child molester during riots last year, yeah, that works better. And this is how the framing is done. Because the better narrative for somebody who wants to keep their job as a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer is that he just showed up and started shooting people, right? And of course you'd be found guilty of that, right? Of course you would. I mean, why do you even need a trial? And I think that the time has passed for giving people the benefit of the doubt on this stuff. Maybe she just doesn't know. Maybe somehow she's managed to remain completely ignorant of the facts. Now, I mean, there's an obvious perverse incentive to promote a false narrative. If you are the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, you have an incentive to push a false narrative. Quote, to help promote safety, sharing, and to encourage healing, I'll be hosting a fireside chat and Q&A with Dr. Jamila Codrington, a licensed psychologist and racial trauma specialist, so a bullshit artist. Dr. J and I will talk about the mental and psychical impacts of back-to-back social and racial justice events and trauma coping mechanisms during our discussion. I mean, maybe if they were saying, look, you were fed a narrative about this that was false, and now you're traumatized by having to deal with reality, and now we're going to help you deal with reality, that would be okay, I guess. But what is this going to be for? It's just going to be to reinforce a lie. It's about indoctrination, as it always is with the left now. Although the people at this would already be indoctrinated, so I guess it would be just reinforcing the indoctrination. In other words, even though reality says you're wrong, it's reality that's wrong, really. And ultimately, your feelings are more important than anything, so, unless you disagree with me, in which case your feelings don't matter. So let's see, who is this speaker, this Codrington? She's a New York licensed psychologist who has appeared on various panels. Let's see, she holds a staunch left-wing views. Here's one of them, which is very ironic, but also perfect for the modern left. Quote, one of the main weapons of colonialism and white supremacy was to destroy our memory and to separate us from wealth, our cultural wealth. Destroy our memory. This is the woman who's doing a racial health therapy for employees to reinforce a false narrative on them. Anyway, I guess if you have to wear Levi Strauss, maybe get it secondhand. Because there's only one way that these companies are going to get the message. And that's not rewarding them for doing insane shit. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you just like to listen, there's the podcast Radio Baloney. It's on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.